Hello, assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm your host Rubab Shah, and I welcome you all in my show Zawiya. As most of you are already aware that we are doing one show per week on the Kashmir issue, and this show is also a part of that series. However, the medium of communication is different today, and I apologize to the inconvenience it may cause to some of you. Dear viewers, since its inception, Kashmir issue has remained an international subject matter due to the geopolitical complexities associated with it. The region is a declared disputed territory and awaits a plebiscite according to UN resolution to decide its fate. But we see that even after the 70, almost more than 70 years, the people of Kashmir are still waiting for the implementation of those resolutions. And recently, in a highly controversial move, the BJP led Indian government has stripped Indian administered Kashmir of its special status, which was guaranteed by the Indian constitution, to make it a legal part of its federal territory. The move is condemned by not only Kashmiris who have refused to accept this decision, but also the international community. But we see that the responses of some of the important international players, including European Union, have fallen short of expectations. To talk more about on why EU failed to criticize this Indian decision outrightly and how much influence do right-wing European political parties exercise on this matter, we are joined today by our prestigious guest, Mr. Frank Schwalba-hoth. Frank is the founding member of German Greens and is the first Green European Parliament, member of the European Parliament. After leaving European Parliament, he headed EU Peace, Greenpeace office, and currently he is residing in Brussels as a political analyst and strategist, a coach, and a networker. Apart from this, he has been instrumental in voicing concerns over human rights abuse in Indian administered Kashmir and has written quite a few good articles on the matter. Welcome, Frank. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Rubab.
Mhm. I'll start with the European Union. That why did it fail to condemn this Indian move outrightly? Is there a perception that such statements may offend economically important partners like India?
I have to answer clearly no.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand, to have a right answer to this, the
Mm-hmm.
structure of the European Union and the policy of the European Union outside our own territory.
Mm-hmm.
We have started mostly as an economic union looking inside. Over the last 2 decades, this has shifted a little bit, and we have become more and more an international player, and international politics have increased its importance. The last 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
the EU has moved to a crossroad because of American politics,
Mm-hmm.
because of a new team in the European Union leadership.
Mm-hmm.
That means for the first time, a woman is the president of the European Commission, a woman, between us, incredibly extraordinary.
Yes.
She has 6 children. She adopted even a refugee child from Syria. And she has a broad vision. She wants to contribute that the EU is a stronger international player
Mm-hmm.
based on values, not on interest, economic or whatever. That means she is moving slowly the EU to become a stronger international player and even to be able to play the role of an honest broker.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, when it happened in beginning of August, what you just described,
Mm-hmm.
the European Union was very, very concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And there were statements from members of the European Parliament,
Mm-hmm.
very clear statements, who said this is a violation of international law.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a little bit, yeah, patience with the executive branch of the European Union, the Commission,
Mm-hmm.
in their evaluation, in their feelings, they are 100% on the side of those who criticize what happened by the Indian government. But a clear statement will come, not now, but in the near future.
We
And
have,
to
yeah,
tell
sure.
you, now tell you something wonderful,
Yeah.
for the midterm and the long term, the European Union will be a partner, a partner of those who are fighting for respect of human rights in Kashmir and for the right of self-determination.
That's great. Mhm. Um, we have seen a delegation of European Union members visiting Indian administered Kashmir right after this move, and it was the first of its kind of international delegation visiting the area. Most of the members were alt-right MEPs, if I'm not wrong. Um, like the leftists were refused to go. The leftists refused to visit the area, or were they not invited at all? Who selected that delegation? What do you think?
The delegation was selected by a body based, a non-governmental body
Mm-hmm.
based in New Delhi.
Mm-hmm.
They choose the members of the delegation, and most, nearly exclusively, all members of the delegation are close to ideas
Mm-hmm.
which you have in India represented through the RSS, the party, yeah, this movement close to Modi, and the ideas of Modi. Therefore, it was very, very clear that Modi received them all,
Mm-hmm.
made a nice photo with them, even individual photos with each participating member. And then most of the members as well
Mm-hmm.
traveled together to Srinagar, which was totally, totally non-accepted afterwards. Yeah, by other members of the parliament and by the parliament itself. And it created even a problem because this was a voyage, a trip
Yes.
paid by sources from India. And the transparency rules in the European Parliament are when you are invited
Mm-hmm.
and the trip and the hotel and everything is paid, you should inform the European Parliament
Mm-hmm.
who has done it. And this happened for all of them, I think, quite late only. That means it was not something positive perceived here in Brussels, but
Mm-hmm.
certainly the Indian government tried to push this as something positive and a sign of solidarity,
Mm-hmm.
but they, you say, they shot in their own feet because
Mm-hmm.
it was only extreme right wing, most
Mm-hmm.
of them extreme right wing members of parliament, and it was a insult to the members of parliament from India who
Mm-hmm.
were not allowed to visit
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
the valley at the same time.
Yes. True.
And it
Um.
is, for me, totally undemocratic
Mm-hmm.
that national MPs
Mm-hmm.
are not allowed to visit,
True.
why a certain tendency of international members of parliament are allowed to visit.
There. Yeah. Yes. That's an irony in itself. Um. But then that earlier in this year, the EU postponed the a resolution that was condemning the Indian move in this decision of India, citing the upcoming Modi's visit. There's a perception, or in fact, I may say rumors going on that the right wing um, European MEPs were behind this move. Is it true, or was it a diplomatic move by the EU unanimously?
I don't know. It's only a guess,
Hmm.
and I don't answer to a guess with yes or no.
Okay, thank you. Um, what do you how are you aware of the visit by the German envoy to the headquarters of RSS last year, I guess?
Yes, I heard of it,
Mm-hmm.
but you know RSS quite well,
Yes, I
or
do.
you know their, yeah,
Yeah.
sure, and you know
Yeah.
as well quite well their international structure, HSS.
Mm-hmm.
But apologies for most European politicians, we
Mm-hmm.
are not aware to the same extent as you what RSS and HSS are and what they are standing for.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, this group of members of parliament here who are working on Kashmir
Mm-hmm.
in the moment trying to inform the European public
Mm-hmm.
that RSS, HSS
Mm-hmm.
is not the structures you should have contact, intensive contact or exchange. They are structures who are fight for a purity of a race,
Mm-hmm.
which is totally contradictory to the European values.
Okay,
They are
so
not inclusive, they are exclusive, and in certain situations, they have used physical violence, extreme physical violence, and these are no partners for the
mm-hmm.
majority of the European politicians.
Mm-hmm. So, do you think that the German envoy visited because he was not having enough information about the RSS, or do you think
I
it's
fear,
out of
I fear,
confidence?
I fear, I fear because for a German mainstream politician,
Mm-hmm.
it is not acceptable to have close links to RSS or HSS.
Do you think there is an alliance in the making between RSS or RSS inspired political parties like BJP and the right wing European political parties? Do you fear that?
If sure, if I would be strategist
Mm-hmm.
advising the right-wing European parties, I
Mm-hmm.
certainly would say, come on, these are your brothers and sisters on the Indian continent.
Mm-hmm.
Install relationship and intensify these relationships.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not a right-wing person, but
Yeah.
I totally understand if such a move would go on.
But then we see that India has recently been elected as a majority by the majority as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. Why do you see such a huge support in favor of it? Do the economic importance of a country outweigh its democratic norms? Do you think that in
If you look,
a neoliberal
okay,
system?
yeah, we all know that the composition
Hmm.
of the Security Council is a product of the policy just after the Second World War. That means the permanent members do not represent really
Hmm.
who should be there.
Hmm.
Therefore, there are voices who are speaking of India, of Germany, of Japan, and other countries. And if you look on the non permanent members, it's always a compromise package who will now go there for 2 years. And I would not interpret this as a glorification of actual Indian politics.
Hmm.
It is happening. And if you look in the past, there have been a certain number of members of the Security Council, non permanent members, who have not been the big masters of democracy, but they were nevertheless elected as non permanent member.
Hmm. In your own opinion, or in your own understanding, how do you view Kashmir issue? I've I've
Yes,
listened like read few of your articles, but I would like to hear from
yes.
you. Yeah.
Um, it is very, very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Kashmir is not a separatist issue.
Mm-hmm.
It is a long-lasting international problem dating from the years after the Second World War. And there was a commitment of the international community through the United Nations to have a referendum on self-determination. And when I speak to Indian representatives, I always mention, don't be afraid that Kashmir, if you are open in the Kashmir question, that this would open a box of Pandora, that now other separatist movements in India, and we all know there are a lot of states in India where there are separatist movements, would take this as a support. It is an unsolved political problem dating for more than half a century. And I think when we look on internet, on modern times, self-determination is a key element of international politics. And as long as self-determination will not be granted to the people of Kashmir, it will be a burning issue. And therefore, you have support in most of European countries and in the European Parliament. But countries like Spain, the UK, Serbia will never be on your side. Why? Not because they deny the right of Kashmiris to self-determination, because they have in their own country a problem, what they consider as a problem, with people, Scottish, the Basques, the Catalans, or the Kosovo Albanians who don't want to stay in that state structure. But I'm very, very happy that the European Parliament years ago accepted in a report, in a resolution, the right of the Kashmiri for self-determination, and accepted that if there would be negotiations, it's not enough if Pakistani and Indian sitting at the table. It's necessary that Kashmiri representatives have to be at the table as well.
You have talked about international community, and in one of your articles, you have compared the situation in Kashmir to that of Western Sahara, Palestine, and Tibet. Well, we see that these are the lingering issues, and no effective role by the international community has been played in these issues. Do you think that if there are no direct stakes involved, international community will not take any concrete measures in the Kashmir issue too?
Um, since more than 20 years, I'm meeting regularly representatives from Kashmir.
Mhm,
And every time I feel that is obvious, understandable, that Kashmir is the most burning issue for them.
mhm,
But when you look internationally, there are dozens and dozens of other burning problems in countries and between countries.
mhm,
And therefore, I'm advising the Kashmiri, and I've been involved actively in this as well, to fight to bring Kashmir higher on the political agenda.
mhm,
The first 20 years I was here in Brussels,
mhm,
20 years, there was only one event on Kashmir in the European Parliament. This changed with the arrival of the Kashmir Center and with Majid Trambu. And suddenly, every year, 4, 5, 6 events on Kashmir, discussions, resolutions, exhibitions, visits. And it was impossible to find someone here in politics in Brussels who still thought Kashmir is only the wool of some animals. No, they understood, everyone, even the most ignorant, knew Kashmir is an unsolved international problem with severe human rights violations. The problem
mhm,
concerning Kashmir in Brussels is now the Brits have left. Most pressure on Kashmir came from the British. And now this has to be replaced by people from Estonia, Germany, France, Italy,
Mhm.
Malta, and
Mhm.
France, who have less direct contact to the
Mhm.
Kashmir issue compared to their old colonial power.
Mhm.
And therefore, in the moment, is a reconstruction of a group of members of the European Parliament, together with the coalition of Kashmiri organizations,
Mhm.
to continue the information, the pressure on the mind and on the heart of the people here to understand that Kashmir is a burning issue and to push our executive, the European Commission,
Mhm.
to take the role of an honest broker. And as I've said in the beginning, the EU Commission, our executive body, is on this crossroad to take a stronger international role. Africa is one, Latin America is a second, and the third is Asia. And there, Kashmir is really a burning, burning, burning issue.
Do you think that this is a failure of on the behalf of Pakistan's diplomacy too? I mean, if EU has largely been unaware of the issue, this is because one of the most important actors, like Pakistan, has failed to pursue its like um, its stance on the issue.
No, no.
No? Mhm.
I think in international politics, bashing, India bashing, Pakistan bashing
Mhm.
is not appropriate.
Mhm.
Pakistan, Pakistan's government, Pakistan Foreign Affairs
Mhm.
has played an important role to put on the table, higher on the table even, Kashmir, but it was not always as successful as a Kashmiri or me would have liked.
Mhm.
And sometimes there are in some languages the proverb that the prophet, the role of the prophet,
Mhm.
is much better if the prophet is coming from another part of the world. That means people here in Brussels, when they hear Pakistani speaking about this, they say, oh, it's a problem between Pakistan and India and
Mhm.
the local people of Kashmir. But if the front runners of the Kashmiri issue
Mhm.
are Europeans who take their voice, a European, a German like me, or a French or a Spanish,
Mhm.
they listen much more carefully. And therefore, it is necessary to broaden
Mhm.
the coalition of those who are fighting for a real sustainable and democratic future of Kashmir. But I have to applaud that the Pakistani government has done a lot of important and very important steps. And I hope this will continue and possibly even intensify.
Since you have been following Kashmir for so long, how do you feel? How do you see the resolution of the issue once the BJP has come into power? It made the circumstances worse for the international community as well as for the people, or do you think that it's just a continuation of the same policy, same oppressive policy?
I don't know. It might be
Mm-hmm.
that there is the Nixon China phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
Nixon was a right wing,
Mm-hmm.
very right wing politician,
Mm-hmm.
and he opened the road for good relations between China, or the US and China. A Republican, a Democrat could have never done it. That is one possibility. But as Modi is someone who is driven by very, very clear, very, very, yeah, racist, exclusive ideology, disruptive and not inclusive politics, and as he has promised in his election manifesto,
Mhm.
to solve the problem of Kashmir, taking away the special provisions in the constitutions.
Mhm.
I fear that to satisfy his electorate, he will maintain not being open towards a fair chance to finish this problem. But it is possible that he
Mhm.
will follow Nixon, and I hope he will do it because then no one, if he would open a dialogue now with Pakistan, a new dialogue, it's difficult to see voices in India who will say, no, he's a traitor,
Yeah.
because in their perception, he is the hero of Hinduism.
Mhm. Right. Where do you see the China in all this issue?
A lot of commentators here in Europe said when there were these confrontations now in the Himalaya between India and China,
Mhm.
that is happening on Indian or Chinese territory. Strangely enough, everything what happened on Kashmiri territory. Um, India is what it is, and China in all of this is a country which is not open to self-determination. Tibet, then Ost-Turkestan or Xinjiang or whoever you say to this area where you have now these camps for
Mhm.
Muslim, and India has this strong interest of having better access to the sea for export, and therefore their corridor,
Mhm.
which will go or is going now under construction through Pakistan
Yeah.
to the Indian Ocean
Mhm.
in this small, unimportant city, which will become very, very important in Baluchistan at the border to uh, Iran, will play a major role for the future export policy. Therefore, China, on the one hand, is not in love or understanding with any separatist or changing the borders. But on the other hand, they are now closer and closer linked to Pakistan.
Mhm.
And if Pakistan can make clear to China
Mhm.
that a hostile behavior towards Kashmir
Mhm.
is against Pakistani interest, the Pakistani can be indirect lobbyists towards the Chinese
Mhm.
for Kashmiri interest. Therefore, my yeah, proposal or my request or my wish
Mhm.
towards the Pakistani is, as you are now geographically so important through this corridor, which will go through Pakistani territory for the Chinese, please, and the Chinese are good businessmen, they understand
Yeah.
giving and receiving. If the message is be now a little bit more comprehensive to the
Mhm.
Kashmiri wishes,
Mhm.
Chinese, it might be possible to neutralize this Chinese opposition to any changing of borders.
Do you see the notion Islamic terrorism and the plebiscite in Kashmir mutually exclusive? Because we see that there are very rare or close to none proofs of the foreign involvement in the armed struggle of Kashmiris. Do you think that it's just an excuse given by the Indian government to suppress an indigenous movement?
Okay, I'm in my heart and through my politics and through my understanding a pacifist.
Mhm.
Therefore, I'm one of the admirers of the policy of Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi. And I think, and every time when I am in contact with Kashmiris, I try to convince them but that a peaceful struggle, even if you are suppressed, is in the mid and the long term more successful. But if you have militants,
Mhm.
these militants should be from the territory itself and
Mhm.
not foreign militants, because foreign militants are considered as mercenary, as
Mhm.
something negative.
Mhm.
Militancy for me is negative, but foreign militancy is negative. And it might be in the short run
Mhm.
have a certain effect for the oppressed, but in the mid and long term, it is very counterproductive.
So, have you ever been um, like encountered or like asked uh, the arguments like these, that there has been an armed struggle going on, and then there cannot be peace with the armed struggle um, within Kashmir?
It
Have
is.
your fellow European politicians have asked these questions?
I'm if a country, if a population
Hmm.
is deciding to support an armed struggle,
Hmm.
like it happened at certain moments in Israel,
Hmm.
it is not me to say you are wrong.
Hmm.
It is their decision, but I can use my arguments as a pacifist
Hmm.
to say even when you are suppressed,
Hmm.
try a peaceful way. And there are a lot of proverbs in a lot of languages that sometimes even the innocent drop of water permanently falling on the same place of the stone, even granite stone, it makes a hole. And uh, especially when the fight you are fighting is justified and you want that the international community is supporting you, then a non-violent fight has much more chances of being supported internationally.
Um, Before the plebiscite, if we begin with the conflict management process, what are the few steps that you would suggest to begin with?
The most important is to explain, and this has not happened all over the world yet,
Hmm.
that the changement of the constitution
Hmm.
has the aim of a demographic change of the population in Kashmir. We have seen it in a lot of other places in the world. If you have a population which is not in love with the government policy, because of whatever reasons,
Hmm.
the safest and most effective way is to make them a minority by sending in, by giving incentives
Yes.
of mainstream people or people who support mainstream policy of that country to move in.
Hmm.
And the big danger of this change of the constitution of India is now that in the valley, city of Srinagar, you will have in 10, 15 years a minority of Kashmiri. And then you can do referendum or elections or whatever, even super democratic elections.
Hmm.
But the Kashmiri, originally Kashmiri voice will be only a minority. I think this is the main message. This possibly is a point where the Pakistani government, yes, should do more or could have done more in explaining this demographic change as a key reason for this change of the constitution. Uh, the next steps if I would be a magician, I would say the next steps should be confidence building measures. Confidence building measures in the whole of the effective region, trade,
Mhm.
facility to travel,
Mhm.
exchange between intellectuals, artists,
Mhm.
families who have been divided,
Mhm.
because Germany and France had been arch enemies,
Mhm.
and now, after half a century, it's possible to have even a common commission of historians who work on a text
Mhm.
for the school books in Germany and France, where the German French history will be explained exactly in the same way in
Mhm.
German and in French in school books on the two sides. The same we have in Germany with Poland,
Mhm.
old arch enemy as well with Germany, that children in school who learn now about the conflict in the neighboring countries
Mhm.
don't hear it through a chauvinistic, nationalistic, puristic way, but in a balanced way, which has been worked out by academic representatives and mostly academic representatives from the two countries. This is my dream that in 100 years, the Kashmiri conflict
Mhm.
in the history books in India, Pakistan, and Kashmir will be described with the same wording. Difficult, but we all have the right to have dreams.
Yeah, we can hope so. I'll now move towards few questions about migrant-related issues, particularly in Germany. What, in your opinion, what are some of the major issues that migrants face while integrating in the German society, particularly those from the Middle East or from the Asian countries, South Asian countries, particularly?
Mhm. Europe and Germany
Mm-hmm.
will has and will have in the future even more
Mm-hmm.
an increasing number of people
Mm-hmm.
who have grown up and educated
Mm-hmm.
in other parts of the world
Mm-hmm.
with other cultural experience,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore it is of key importance
Mm-hmm.
to follow to a certain degree the Swedish example,
Mm-hmm.
who is offering
Mm-hmm.
and has done it very, very strong in the past to newcomers
Mm-hmm.
language course
Mm-hmm.
and an understanding of the specific culture of the new country.
Mm-hmm.
For example, very, very important in the relationship between men and women,
Mm-hmm.
that women are not submissive to a man,
Mm-hmm.
that you have to be as happy when you have a daughter or a boy.
Mm-hmm.
No legal distinguishing between the two, except for acceptance for other habits. That means to accept that when you sit together with Europeans and they eat pork meat,
Mm-hmm.
that you're not disgusted, but
Mm-hmm.
say, oh, these Germans, why do they eat pork? I don't eat it, but yeah. The same with alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
the same with homosexuals or lesbians,
Mm-hmm.
or to people who are left-handers instead of right-handers. That means to accept that God, Allah,
Mm-hmm.
whoever his name is,
Mm-hmm.
has created you, Rubab, me differently with
Mm-hmm.
different experience.
Mm-hmm.
And when he created you and me,
Mm-hmm.
when he created the Indians and the Pakistanis,
Mm-hmm.
I think he did it with a special intention
Yes.
to force us to live together, not in love,
Mm-hmm.
but in mutual respect.
Mhm.
That means when I'm confronted with someone who has another behavior, other ideas,
Mhm.
I don't have to love him or her, but I have to respect and expect from the other that he respects me. And when you see education in Germany as a parent, if your child is not obeying, you slash on the face or on the body, you can be punished by law.
True.
Now imagine someone who is coming from a country where this slash
Yeah,
is
it's
a part of accepted tradition.
normal.
Suddenly, the father or the mother has to appear in court.
Mhm.
Um, or that when you're on the street and you see a very attractive woman, that you are not entitled to say hello or sniffle with behind her or whatever.
Mhm.
And therefore, I think it is important that the EU countries, the European countries, are
Mhm.
developing more sophisticated programs to take someone who is coming from the high mountains, wherever,
Mhm.
to explain you're no longer in your country, where you were not really in love with everything. Now you want to be here. But when you are here, please accept
Mhm.
that here are other behavior
Mhm.
between the sexes, between in education,
Mhm.
in social life,
Mhm.
in eating habits.
Mhm.
And I think then a living together will be very, very fruitful for the two. And I was totally, I'm green,
Mhm.
and the Christian Democrats are on the other side of the political spectrum.
Mhm.
And when these millions of people came from Middle East
Mhm.
through Greece, Balkans,
Mhm.
and some of the countries there said, stop, stop. I was fascinated and had even tears in my eyes when I listened to the message of Chancellor Merkel, who said, "You're welcome." That was, and I spoke to people close to here, to her. Later, I spoke to them, and they told me they were all shocked that she, who is a
Mhm.
Christian Democrat,
Mhm.
who normally don't want too many foreigners arriving, that
Mhm.
she in her heart was so touched by the destiny of these people
Mhm.
that she said, "Come on, I know voters, my potential voters or voters up to now will not appreciate it, but I
Mhm.
have to do it. I have to listen to my heart."
Mhm.
This said this woman who is a nuclear physicist,
Mhm.
who is very, very, not very emotional, very reflective. And she said, "No, I have to listen to my heart." This was a moment where I was grateful that I was a German, that such a decision to say, please, foreigners, come. It will be very difficult, but please come. And then she used some strange methods, positively strange methods. Since she asked the heads of key German um, companies in closed meeting, she said to them, I did this strange, possibly stupid thing, but it is impossible. It was necessary to do it. Now I want something from you. I
Mhm.
want from you that you said, look for few and then even more of these refugees, and you offer to them training, 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 and jobs. And please, in public, don't criticize me. That is what I ask you. Because if you, as heads of economy, say, yes, this is helpful for Germany, most people will believe you. And therefore, she positively blackmailed key economic leaders, and they set up programs, not enough, but they had never spoken publicly, this was wrong decision. No, they said, okay, this is helpful for Germany. But it is not only helpful, but it's very difficult for Germany as well. But
Yes.
I'm totally sure that we will find a way to be a place, a livable place for people from other parts of the world with other cultures and other habits.
I'm really touched by your optimism, but I really need to ask a question here. That do you think that these cultural differences are the cause of the rise of parties like AFD in Germany? Do you think that possibly they'll gain more representation in the parliament in future, or do you think it's just a way with
No, no.
right? Uh,
European cultures since the 19th century
mhm,
and what we call the Enlightenment, which started in France of the intellectual enlightenment,
mhm,
is universal in Europe. But you have always in each culture, in each country,
mhm,
in every country, you have some 5, 10, 15% of the population
mhm,
who has difficulties of following this enlightenment.
mhm,
And it's understandable. Imagine your grandparents
mhm,
have worked in coal or steel, they
mhm,
are unemployed, your parents are unemployed,
mhm,
you are unemployed, you get benefits, you get up in the morning, you live with beer, there is no shop anymore in your village, there
mhm,
is no bus connection anymore.
mhm,
And then someone tells you, oh, all these foreigners who are coming, they're getting this, this, and this.
mhm,
You are afraid that they would take
mhm,
your job. You have then this instinct,
mhm,
I'm left alone, socially,
mhm,
politically,
mhm,
and then they are tempted to vote for extreme
mhm,
right wing parties, chauvinist parties.
mhm,
And therefore, I'm not surprised that we have 10, 15% voters for the AfD. But on the other hand, not all AfD voters or
mhm,
AfD representatives are Nazis or fascists.
mhm,
They are, in the traditional sense, conservative,
mhm,
and they have this resistance against a change.
mhm,
They think, oh, why can it not be like 10, 20, 30 years ago? But we have to make it easier for them to arrive in the 21st century. And therefore, when I meet here politicians from the AfD,
mhm,
most Greens don't do it. I greet them nicely, like I greet everyone nicely. And I even make shake hands, and some of the Greens criticize me of this. But I say they are representatives
mhm.
who have another opinion like me, but I'm a friend of the ideas of Voltaire, who said, I don't share your opinion, but I will do everything that you have the possibility and the right to express your opinion.
Okay, true.
Now, you, please.
Fine. This is really a good approach, and as a political student myself, I really like this because it's very important for the coexistence. If we suppress the opinions, we will not be able to make progress, and that's
Mhm.
for sure. I'm also interested to know. I'll again refer to my academic background as a political student. How can non-Germans like me, who are also like very bad in German language skills, can be active politically, or even those who are well versed in German, how can they be politically active in the society, and
Okay,
how important is it?
Rubab, I have a problem. I don't know you yet, first. And second, where are you based now? Where do you live?
I'm currently in Offenbach.
You're living in Germany.
Yeah,
Wow!
that's
Because during our whole discussion, I
yeah.
thought you were living far away.
No, that's why I'm
Wonderful.
so interested.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. Now, Robert, do you know that I was your first member of parliament? In
Yes,
1982, I
mhm,
was the first Green in the Hessen parliament. You are living in the state of Hessen.
yes.
You are in the south, and I lived in the middle in Marburg. And then
Mhm.
I was your first Green member of the European
That
Parliament
was
in 1984. Okay,
yeah.
you were not here.
That's why I was very excited
Yeah,
and quite
yeah,
afraid of this interview that I'm
yes.
talking.
No, okay, therefore, I propose you several things. First is,
Hmm.
when you're coming to Brussels,
Hmm.
I'll invite you to the European Parliament, and then you can sit even on the chair of the president if you
Mm-hmm.
want.
Yeah, and take a
And
selfie.
we have a yes, and we have a drink. You
Mm-hmm.
whatever, me a Belgian beer,
Mm-hmm.
and it is not necessary to be. The problem with you is that you're a woman. That's a problem. Why? Because a woman always wants to be perfect,
Mm-hmm.
perfect German speaker. That is stupid. A man, when he speaks 500 words of German, he would
Mm-hmm.
say, I am fluent in
There
German.
you go.
A woman who speaks 1,000 or 2,000 words of German, I have basic German knowledge. No, please.
Mm-hmm.
Robert, what I propose to you,
Mm-hmm.
if you speak, certainly you do it already, 300 words of German, speak German and accept that you are doing two mistakes in every sentence. It's better than three mistakes or four mistakes in a sentence, and you will see most Germans will be fascinated
Mm-hmm.
and charmed that you are speaking German.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one. Second is to understand German culture, German thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Go to museums, read German books in English translation, listen to oh, Pakistani translation. There was some.
Mm-hmm.
Um, listen to Deutsche Welle,
Mm-hmm.
whose mission is to explain German thinking, German living, German strange things as well to the outside world,
Mm-hmm.
and try to intermingle as much as possible with Germans
Mm-hmm.
and say, I'm here and I'm speaking to you because I'm very curious. Tell me, please,
Mm-hmm.
and ask questions, intelligent questions, which you certainly do. And don't stay in your ghetto, your Pakistani, Muslim, or Kashmiri, or whatever ghetto. And just a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago, I had in Rüsselsheim, near to Offenbach, where you are living now, um, meeting with the representatives of the Kashmiri diaspora in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And I think 90%, 95%, or possibly even 99% of
Mm-hmm.
the representatives of the Kashmiris at this meeting, was about 100 people, were male and not female.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That means, therefore, I propose, and this was according to the German prejudice, Kashmiris, that means always male around the table. Therefore, try to interfere as well when there is a meeting of on a political issue, and most of these male are there. Say hi and
Yeah,
go there as well and impress them. No, yes, no, and impress them through your intelligent commentaries. And you will discover that at a certain moment
mm-hmm.
they will confess to you, oh, you are the first person of the sub-Indian continent with Muslim background with whom I have spent now 1 hour or half an hour together. You will see it.
Okay, that's a
And
thing.
when if no and if destiny will bring me to Frankfurt or Offenbach, I
Mm-hmm.
will contact you
For
and then
sure,
I will introduce you to some of
for sure,
my friends who might become then your friends as well.
for sure, for sure. Thank you. That's very great of you, and that's what I've um, always um, talked about German culture, that they are very liberal and open to ideas, particularly to the females, and they provide an equal chance of success to everyone. And that's the very reason that I've chosen Germany to begin my political career from here. And
Yes, but on the other hand, it was not easy.
mhm,
It's very difficult
mhm,
because we went to very, very dark times and very, very dark things
mhm,
which happened.
mhm,
The Nazis killing of Jews, gypsies, Roma gypsies, uh, intellectuals, Christians, and others, because they are what was said in Germany at that time of another race. And when the Second World War was over, still the broad majority of Germans were in their mind and their heart
Mhm.
Nazis, linked to Nazi ideas. And by an intelligent decision of the Brits, American, and French,
Mhm.
we had a period of cleaning up these strange racist ideas, and therefore Germany now, if it's right-wing or left-wing government, center-left, center-right, is a very, very open country. Certainly we have sometimes racist events, but I think, and I've traveled in my life in more than 80 different countries, it is much less than in most other countries in the world. And sometimes I'm grateful that I'm German because we are much more open-minded than a lot of other countries to newcomers.
Yes, tolerant and
And
progressive.
therefore, good luck in how no, so
Yeah.
how long are you already in Germany?
It's been now 3.5 years.
How much?
3.5
5
years.
years.
3.5. 3.5.
Oh, 3.5, 3.5. Okay,
Yeah, 3.5 years.
good.
So, yeah.
And then I have a question to you. What is
Yeah.
it like? What? Oh, three questions. What do you like most in Germany?
Mhm.
What do you hate in Germany?
Mhm.
And what is the most surprising thing for you in Germany? Now,
Uh,
Kuba, like,
what
hate, and surprising.
what I what I like about Germany is that it's very tolerant. Even if Germans don't like something, they will never say it to your face. They'll always find ways to communicate it, and they'll always respect your freedom of choice, whatever you are choosing for yourself. Though, what I hate about it is that they will never accept it by heart. They will always try to find the ways to influence your thinking somehow, which is good in most of the ways, but we can discuss it later on privately, maybe someday. As you know, that coming from a Muslim background, on some things it may be a bit awkward um, for the youngsters, and I think that it culminates a difference between the two societies, that I, as a Muslim, is unable to am unable to explain my point of view to them, and since they are coming from a more open background, they are unable to understand our point of views, which I think maybe in near future we can talk about it and solve it out, that why these things, this lack of communication exists. And to come to the third point, surprising. Um, to be honest, no, I think we have lost the connection with Frank here. Mm-hmm. Okay, there was very interesting conversation going on, and maybe we can wait for him to come back and ask if there is a technical issue. I think
I'm
you, yeah, I think you got disconnected.
yes. Therefore, can you please tell me what was the most surprising because I hadn't heard it?
The most surprising thing, to be honest, is looking at the people who are conservative in preserving their culture, who hold their culture so dear, and yet who are so open and tolerant to the newcomers, to the new
Hmm,
cultures. Yes, this is
okay,
very
but
surprising for me, that the
okay.
coexistence of conservatism and liberalism in German
Ah,
society is very
thank
surprising.
you. But you said to be honest. Never say to be honest. You know why? Because it
Mhm.
means all what you've said before is not honest. No, no, thank you very much.
Mhm.
But don't forget,
Mhm.
after the Second World War,
Mhm.
Germany lost an important part of its territory in the east, Pommern, Ostpreußen, Schlesien,
Mhm.
and therefore, after the Second World War,
Mhm.
about 12, 13, 14 million refugees
Mhm.
from the east came to Western Germany, including those from Eastern Germany. That means suddenly a culture with people from Bavaria or Prussia suddenly got newcomers.
Mhm.
When I went to school, I'm born in 1952. When I entered school 1959, in my school, 15, 20 pupils, only two
Mhm.
had no refugee background in my village near Hamburg.
Mhm.
In Schleswig-Holstein, the most northern part of Germany, where the Elbe, the river Elbe, this is the border to this part of Germany more south of Hamburg.
Mhm.
The British has closed the access to the Elbe. That means a lot of refugees
Mhm.
stayed in Schleswig-Holstein.
Mhm.
That in 1955, 1950, 1960, more than half of the people living
Mhm.
in this state of Schleswig-Holstein were refugees or descendants of refugees. More than half.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
means you don't have the phenomena like in parts of France or in the UK, where people live for hundreds of years in Cornwall,
Mhm.
and every foreigner is
Mhm.
looking like this. That means there was this mixing of population
Mhm.
through Eastern Prussian people or Pomeranian people
Mhm.
coming to Germany or Silesia.
Mhm.
And this meant Germans had a certain experience of mixing.
Mhm. Yes.
And through our mental re-education,
Mhm.
uh, it is impossible. For example, if you imagine you would be now German, you would have German passport,
Mhm.
and someone would say in public, "Oh, this Pakistani lady."
Mhm.
If this would be said by a politician, he would be considered as a racist because, in case you have a German passport,
Mhm.
you are German.
Yeah.
If your parents or grandparents came from wherever.
Mhm.
And now, if there's a football game
Mhm.
between Germany and Belgium, the Belgians are very good in football at the moment. The eastern part of Belgium, they speak German. They were German up to 1918.
Mhm.
But they are for the Belgian team, not for the German team. They are for the team where they
Mhm.
have the passport and not the team where they have the language.
Mhm.
And I think this is fascinating. Fascinating if people who have been up to 1918
Mhm.
Germans who speak German,
Mhm.
but if it's football, they are with Belgium because
Yes.
they feel Belgian despite that they are German speaking. It's the same as the German Danish border.
Mhm.
And I think this is an advancement that
Mhm.
you feel in love and yeah, very deep connection with your passport country.
True.
And therefore, you will see, in case one day you might have a German passport,
Mhm.
that no reasonable person would say, "Are you this Pakistani lady?" Then you would say, "I am the German lady
Maybe.
with parents who are born, and myself born as well in Pakistan, but I'm a German lady." Pardon. I don't want to offend you. No, the
Yeah.
passport is the most important thing
Mhm.
to be considered as a German.
Mhm.
And even you can say, "Oh, I'm a Pakistani origin lady. I don't have yet my German passport. Possibly I will never ask for it,
Mhm.
but I'm a part of this society."
Yes. By
And
heart.
yes, yes.
Yes. That's true. That's true. Even after 3.5 years, I can say that part of my heart belongs to German society because it's
And
really
and this is not betrayal to Pakistan for me.
true. True because
You can no, it's not like the question whom you marry, yeah, that you have to marry one person.
Mhm.
Um, yes, I think European culture is. I never thought about this. European culture is like the traditional life of a man in a Muslim man. He can
Mhm.
marry four wives, and for a citizen in Europe is you can have different passports
Mhm.
and you can have different identities, and you're not betraying your
Yeah.
German identity
Yes.
if you think a little bit being Pakistani or whatever.
True.
Oh, from my side to mention, I married a Brazilian lady, black Brazilian. They have
Mhm.
a daughter, 27 years,
Mhm. Yeah.
and she will now give birth to my first grandchild.
Yeah.
And when she's asked, but who are you? She said, oh yes, I'm half Brazilian, half German, half Belgian, half Polish, and half Russian. So many halves. That's your problem. You are too traditional in mathematics. And
Yeah.
when she was 6 years, she came back from school and said, why are you so disturbed? Papa, you can't believe what I've lived through today. There's a new girl in my class. I said,
Mhm.
really? Yes. And the parents are from the same country. And she's nice nevertheless. Strange. I said, yes, that's very strange to have parents from the same country. She said, yes, this is always a nice experience.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
this is wonderful in Brussels
Mhm.
that you are surprised of having parents from the same national background.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's. I think with the globalization, this all is changing now, and we'll see more couples with various or different backgrounds, not various, different backgrounds from each other.
No, but no, 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 no. We had it already before
Mm-hmm.
because even if someone from Offenbach marries someone from Frankfurt, it's a different background.
Yeah.
For me, I feel, in my passport, I'm German.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, I'm European, but in my heart, I'm a global citizen.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, a mixed marriage is either between a Pakistani and a German,
Mm-hmm.
or someone from Islamabad with someone from Calcutta. That's a mixed marriage as well. All
Yes.
mixed marriages, except you marry your brother and your sister, which in all countries is not allowed.
Rare. It's a
Therefore,
rare.
I never use the expression mixed marriage
Mm-hmm.
because it's always mixed.
Yes, it's always it's true that.
Yes.
I'm afraid that we are short of time. So, any small message that we'd like to give to the audience, particularly in the context of Kashmir issue, that how can European citizens, particularly the Asian citizens who are residing in Europe, can be more active in pursuing this humanitarian cause?
Um, Over the last 150 years, there has always been a very special interest
Mm-hmm.
of Germans in Central Asia and in India and in the Himalaya. If you look on the German researchers or explorers who went to the Himalaya, to the deserts north of the Himalaya, Taklamakan, Gobi, and others, and therefore speak to them, to your German contacts, of this incredible miracle of the Himalaya,
Mm-hmm.
which is the result of an accident when the Indian subcontinent crashed against the um,
Mm-hmm.
Asian continent, and therefore you even find salt
Mm-hmm.
in the Himalaya. You buy it in specialized shops. The Himalaya salt, which was before on the on the bottom of the sea, and explain that in this incredibly fascinating mountains, there is a region. When you would go there in the night, no one is there. You would think you are in northern Italy, the beautiful lakes of Como and of Lago Maggiore, and it is populated by people who are incredibly good in certain handicraft, good merchants, and in the past, in summer when it was too hot in Delhi, the the political elite from Delhi came to stay there for the summer, not to be suffering too much by the heat in New Delhi. And now these people suffer. They suffer despite that you have these wonderful houseboats on the Dull Lake, where a lot of Europeans, instead of going to Venice for honeymoon, went to there. When I was in a houseboat, I looked through these books who stayed there in the 50s and 60s and 70s. I was fascinated by the variety of background of these people who stayed for their honeymoon there. And now they are confronted with more than 500,000 armed Indians. You can't move freely in the moment. And when your son or when your family member is arrested by the police, here in Europe, you would come with a lawyer to pick him or her up from the police station. In Kashmir, you are coming with a doctor to heal the wounds because very often they have been tortured in these interrogation centers. And buy small things from Kashmir, these papier-mâché boxes with all these nice colors, and give it as a gift. In Kashmir, they cost nearly nothing. Buy small boxes or things like this, or yeah, whatever, these papier-mâché out of rice paper. And when you're invited for dinner or birthday, don't give flowers or chocolate. Give a gift from Kashmir. These Kashmir box, and they are so beautiful, nobody is throwing them away.
Yes.
Flowers after a week gone, the chocolate will be eaten.
Yeah.
And as you are, I see, was a real, you wouldn't give a bottle of wine. Yeah? But if you give a box from Kashmir, it is incredibly exotic, then do it. Therefore, please ask your friends in the Indian subcontinent to send you, if they are coming next time to visit you, to bring you 10 boxes of papier-mâché from Kashmir, not the big ones, the small, decent ones, and give it to your friends here. And then, to finish from my side with this recommendation, glue a small piece of paper below, but with a very top glue, where it's written, gift from papier-mâché from Kashmir, handed over by Rubab Shah as a birthday gift or as a thank you gift for having been invited for dinner. And then you write the date and you glue it on the bottom. And whenever they have forgotten who gave it to them, when they see your name and the date, and if you add there your email on this
Yeah.
small piece of paper, they always know how to contact you. Become positive ambassadors for the Kashmiri cause by telling them how wonderful it is, what is the suffering there, and handing over a small gift. Papier mache, I think, is wonderful. Mache baby box from Kashmir.
Thank you.
Satisfied?
Yes, satisfied. Valuable suggestion indeed. And thank you, Frank, for joining us. I hope to see you soon, either in Brussels or Frankfurt, and to have more detailed
Okay. But
conversation.
Rubab, I'm on Facebook. Are you on Facebook as well?
I am. I am. I'm going to send you my
Yes,
link.
wonderful. Okay, good. And my Facebook is very easy. It is my name, and I see it's written there.
Yes, yes, that will be easier. Then I
And
will.
when I get something from you, I will say, yes, accepted as friend.
Yes, and then we are going to have more detailed and productive conversations on the Kashmir issue, and together we can. I
Yes.
hope
Oh, and
we.
yes, and please send me as well the link of this, what we are doing now.
Sure.
Then I will put it on my Facebook page because I have in the moment some 2,000 and something people who follow me. And then they will see your intelligent questions, my intelligent answers.
Thank you.
And they will say, ooh, that was nice.
Yes, that was a
Frank
nice
with
combo.
Rubab on
Yeah.
Kashmir.
Yes, that was a nice combo. Thank you very much. Stay safe and best wishes for you and your family.
And for you and your family and all the friends around you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good evening
Okay.
and a nice weekend.
Bye bye. You too. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. So viewers, we were joined by the Frank, and I hope you have come to know uh, um, a lot of what can I say, the aspects about Kashmir issue and the EU policy perspectives on them. And I hope to see you again in the next week with another show. Thank you very much. Stay safe and take care.